Hi, everybody. Welcome to ASIS TV with your host, Chuck Harold of SecurityGuardRadio.com. My next contestant here on ASIS TV, Mr. Travis Rothblum. We're going to talk about how augmented and virtual reality affects security. And Travis, it just affected me. It was hard to say, but we're going to get more into that in detail because you're giving a lecture at GSX about this. So tell us what that's about.
If you talk about AR and VR, we want to be able to see our designs before they're built. We're using 3D scanning as well. And if we're going to be working on a building, doing a renovation, for example, we will use that 3D scan to make more accurate designs and also, be able to plan out different security scenarios. If we're talking about, active shooter, we're talking about maybe just a mass egress situation, anything like that could be better modeled when we have a good 3D scan of the building that we're working on, for example. And then, we could go with augmented reality and implement these things actually out on site. And, I could get much more into the details of how that works, but it could be either using a mobile device, it could be using a augmented reality headset like the one I'll have with me at the conference. This is the Microsoft HoloLens, if you could see that here.
Yeah.
So any one of these devices, especially as the technology matures, will be able to help us, either simulate or help us in the actual situations, security scenarios that might happen in the real world. The difference, I guess, being between augmented and virtual reality, where virtual reality would take you into a entirely fictional virtual world, augmented reality tries to blend what is in your real world with some virtual elements, I guess. And Microsoft actually has a term that they try to use called mixed reality, which actually does mean a couple different things even by their standards. But what it means is that this headset is actually 3D scanning in the real space at any given time. And so if it 3D scans my desk, for example, and I place a virtual lamp on this desk, the lamp will know that it has to stay on that desk. And, say you actually take this desk away and the 3D scanning of the headset sees that the desk has been taken away, it'll make that lamp fall to the ground, at the acceleration of gravity.
So who is embracing this? Is it the younger people in a security group or an office, and they're just the leadership who's older is just saying, okay, you guys go ahead, that's nice, but you handle it? Or are the decision makers interested in this now?
So I think we're getting them interested, and that's actually one of the biggest tasks that I have, assigned to me here at Arup, is that we are a large company, about 14,000 globally, I think, maybe even more now, and it's about getting the attention of the people that are higher up that have those money-making decisions, and we are starting to make some headway. So they're the ones that are putting us in and having us use this stuff on projects. But as you said, in general, it is the younger. I get the younger employees that are kind of taking the charge and pursuing this. And a lot of times it also happens because we maybe have a little more free time, even though I wouldn't say I have any of that these days. And we don't cost as much on an hourly basis. So it makes sense for us to be doing the research. So that's just how it ends up working up in this company. The good thing I will say about it, though, is just like with how smartphones have revolutionized computer use, the fact that a smartphone has such a minimal interface where you're really just touching a screen, using your thumb and fingers to navigate around, but you don't have any sort of keyboard or mouse or anything like that. Augmented reality seems to be shaping up in the same way, virtual reality as well, where, if you're wearing a headset, it's kind of difficult to even use anything besides even a video game controller. The system that I just showed you, for example, the HoloLens, is able to actually recognize hand gestures. So I basically, I'm wearing the headset and pinching all over in space, and that's how it's recognizing how I want to click on something. There's voice recognition. So if you don't know how to do something, on a phone these days, you could pretty much just press a button and have it listen to your voice. And that's, the same going forward with these devices, with this headset that I'll be demonstrating live at the conference, as well as any mobile phone. So I think the interfaces are actually making technology a lot more accessible these days to all generations, be that younger and older.
When am I going to get my computer screen from Minority Report? That's the one I want, that Tom Cruise is using. Just that's floating up in the air and he moves his hands around, and we're getting close, aren't we? Seriously.
Yeah, we are getting very close, actually, and especially with this Microsoft HoloLens that I just said. It's funny you also use Minority Report, because that is like the #1 movie that I use, because it really does seem like our technology is converging. I think the movie took place in the year 2040 something, I want to say. And it does seem, with autonomous vehicles, with those screens that you were talking about, even like the biometric eye scanning, things like that, we seem to be all converging to that point. It seems kind of remarkable how accurately they portrayed the state of our technology at that year. So yeah, it really is. It's here. So going back to this particular headset, the Microsoft HoloLens, a lot of people would consider this one of the premier devices, and it definitely costs as much as it should, as a premier device in the field should, and yet it still is a developer kit. So it is, just showing you that it is a very new technology that's still being developed and honed in on, and things are going to be cheaper eventually and whatnot. But even with these kind of developmental headsets, there's a couple others out there, you are able to do some of these things that you saw in Minority Report or any sort of science fiction film. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we're hoping to do. And once the wow factor, once the public has passed the wow factor, I guess, it comes to how do we make these technologies useful and productive.
I'm always worried about the gap, the technology gap. We have about a 1 million, some people say soon a 2 million person shortage in people like yourself that get this stuff and can push the button and make it work, okay? And that's dangerous for our society and our industry if we can't have people operate these things. And nobody bothered to train the 1 million guards that have been sitting around for the last 20 years. They would have been the perfect people to train. How are we going to get this technology in the hands of a guard if it's that complicated? I know it's getting better. It's pretty soon it's going to be a mobile app with your Holo on, but isn't it still a little advanced for a basic guard level application?
I think that's where smart manufacturers come in, where they are able to, as I was alluding to before, these user interfaces, as you said, with the mobile phone and the apps and everything like that. It really is up to them to kind of create these interfaces so that it is accessible to everybody, to make it so intuitive that you don't think that you're using a computer. And I really do think wearing this headset and programming with it, even though I'm seeing all the back end code and whatnot, whenever I put it on, it doesn't really feel like I'm using a machine anymore. The fact that you can't even hear any sort of fan going on, or you're not using a keyboard or controller, as I mentioned before, it feels a lot more integrated. And using augmented reality these days is really kind of just like the stopgap until we could actually create, true 3D holograms, like, Princess Leia being projected from R2-D2, for example. That's a 3D true hologram that could be seen from all different angles and is, just projected into real space. That doesn't exist these days. We don't have that capability yet. And once we do, that would probably, it'll become augmented reality, probably. It all, swept up into that one field. But that's really kind of the holy grail. Until that point, though, we're using devices that we could point in any different direction, or using a headset that keeps track of wherever we're looking and wherever we are walking or running toward, so that it knows where to project the proper holograms.
I went from the Flintstones to the Jetsons, and I'm still waiting for my flying car and my hologram. But Mr. Travis, we're getting close, aren't we?
I think so. Not sure about the flying car yet. I guess there are drones, and Uber wants to do the self-driving helicopters or whatever. But yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing you at GSX. This will be a fascinating conversation. And all my, quote, physical security guys, don't let that fool you, because you're in virtual reality space, so you don't know it yet. Get over to see Travis's lecture. And we'll see you at GSX in September, Travis. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Chuck.